Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Thursday afternoon, April 14th. We are looking at Window Trader's market profile of SPY IWMN triple Qs. Before I forget, just want to wish everybody a very, very happy Easter, Passover. Enjoy it, stay safe, enjoy your long weekend. It's good to rest up. Pretty interesting week. A lot to talk about. We're going to go over all these indices charts. So the first question, right, that we have to ask ourselves is, how much do we take out of what happened today, right? I mean, the market closed very, very poor. However, look what it's done all week, right? It's been totally erratic all week. We went down on Monday, Tuesday, we went trend down. Wednesday, we went trend up. Today, we go trend down. We price probe every day. We go out with a double distribution. All three of us price probe to the downside. It seems like we price probe at least 75% of the time this year. We had an 8-wide POC, never could get it to 9. We absolutely ripped apart shorts in I and J, and then again, the momentum buys in J. The weekly, here's the thing, the weekly to me is still firmly in the seller's hands. And that's why I'm giving them the advantage going into next week. The monthly is balanced, the daily is balanced. We had under a $10 range this week. So you're going to see on the charts how compressed we're getting. We're going to pop pretty good out of this balance when we come out of it. And there are price voids on both the downside and the upside. I'm not putting too much weight that we closed below the 50-day moving average today. We went back and forth through it all week. So when we come out of balance, that's going to decide the 50-day moving average, either to the upside or the downside. Plain and simple. Wait till you see triple Qs daily, what it looks like. We nailed this on the head as far as I expect major chop inside of yesterday's range, which is what we did until, we took out yesterday's high real quick. By the way, we took out yesterday's low. Now, they have us closing like a penny below yesterday's low. I'm not going to call an outside day down, for that amount, if that's where it settles. Plus, we had an outside day down the other day, and it was an absolute failure. The bigger thing is when we come out of balance, which is basically Tuesday's high and Tuesday's low. That's the top of our balance. That's our range for the week. That's it. We closed down about $10 for the week after being down over $5 last week. So again, the bears are in charge of the weekly, plain and simple. We'll see if they're going to be able to carry it over and get the daily down. But we said I expect a good range with light volume. Well, we have a $7.05 range on 82 million shares. So exactly what we expected, and we got it. Had a decent day today. A lot of little small trades. The one big one I was looking for, we'll go over that, where I got a little messed up on something. I lost on my first trade of the day, believe it or not, on the short in A period. Yep. So I took the short first against the base of the price probe. Since there were no buyers there, I figured there'd be sellers there. Then I took a short against the day's high. I made money initially on both of them. They were only small. And then when it went up again, I added to the short at the day's high. We popped the day's high, and we got the overnight high. So at that point, I'm like, well, I took it off as a loss. It was only, look, I only lost small on the trade overall. I'm like, I would definitely take another short if we got closer to the 4-day balance high, but we didn't. And then obviously that was it. But that was the only loss I had. I did take a long in B period versus the single prints the first time, which made money once they filled them with the 439 calls. And then, even though we filled single prints in B, when C started, I scalped 444 shorts 2 times inside of C. I was like, well, one time framing down, unless we stop that, I'm going to look for shorts. Did nothing in D, E, or F, even when F broke the day's low. I was thinking about fading it. I'm like, I'm not so comfortable right now. I actually took shorts in G against the single prints that we had, the 442 puts. Then H was started having an inside bar. I'm like, I think we're going to stop one time framing up. Actually took a 50 lot of the 440 calls before I innovated. And and I made money on them. Then it came in. I had 15 left, added to it. So I made money on the trade, but I didn't hold them. And then in I period, I took another one, but a much smaller one, and finally we popped H's high, and I made money on that. So I did okay on the calls, but I didn't maximize that pop. I was waiting for it. Then I started shorting it. I'm like, okay, very, very, and I mean small. Thought the POC, for some reason, I didn't realize when we went up and again, it was very small in I and J, my short. I mean, very small. I thought POC, when we got up here and we were 6 wide, I didn't realize we can get 7 wide if J came back down. So I'm thinking POC's getting raised. So I was looking for the biggest short above C's high, somewhere around value high and B high. And then I realized when we came down, I'm like, oh my goodness, we just got 7 wide down here. That was a perfect afternoon rally high. So I made money, but I had a very, very small put. Very small. Because I was looking to put on between probably 50 and 100 between D's high and B's high. If I had realized we could have come back down, I'm not saying I would have put on the 50 or the 100 here, but it would have been a lot bigger than I had. I probably would have put on at least 25 or 30. So that kind of ticked me off that I missed that. And then Jay came all the way back in, took a small call play to see if we're going to go back to POC. Those were the 439s. And then in K, one time I took a 439 call again when we made a new low. I was like, well, we're 8 wide. Are we going to attempt to go 9? But there was no real... You could sense the buyers were losing any kind of enthusiasm to go back to POC. Made small on it, and then I watched L&M. Should have shorted L&M, but I just watched it. Ended up with a decent week. Decent day and a decent week, and that's fine. As far as destinations, on the upside, here we go again. Price probe, L's low, 438.88. Above that, we have 4 cents left to single prints, 439.29. M's high to K's low at 33 cents, so it's a double distribution day. Then we have the afternoon rally high. We were only 8 wide. I'm using J's high, 441.83. Today's high, 444.73. And then 445.75, which is Tuesday's high, which is now a weekly high, and filling the gap. Remember, we held that gap by 19 cents. It gets filled at 94 cents from the 11th. Think about that, how powerful that is holding that gap. And since then, we've come in $8. Pretty interesting, right? Downside, today's low of 437.68, and then Tuesday's low of 436.65, which is a weekly low, and now a balance low. And you should have all the others I gave the other day, all the way down to the 420s. There is a price vacuum, both up and down. So I do believe this market's going to move pretty good when we come out of this 4-day balance. Russell goes out with no single prints, but they did price probe. Only 8 wide, J afternoon rally high. Q's, they have a bigger issue. Price probe, triple distribution. Single prints in L, single prints in B, and a textbook afternoon rally high. So after having a triple distribution day to the upside and a textbook afternoon pullback low, we follow it up with the complete opposite. Really is amazing. It shows you how erratic, irrational, and uneducated algos are and retail traders at times. Now, let's go to these charts. Let's start with Russell. 3-month balance. Nothing's changed there. Okay? We're inside of last month's range right now, but it's purely balance for the Russell in the monthly. Weekly. Popped their head above 2 weeks ago to come back in. So the weekly, again, I mean, you can call the weekly balance. You can call it down. I mean, it's such a huge balance here. I would just call it balance. It's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is 3 months, my friend. Well, here, you just saw it. 3 months of balance on the monthly. 3 months of balance, 12 weeks on the weekly. It's balance. But for now, the destination to me is 192 on the downside and then 188. And the daily 7-day balance. So we have 3 time frames all in balance. That, my friend, is certainly a market looking for more MGI. Look at how they tested the 50-day for the last 7 days and closed below it. So balance for all of Russell. Let's go to Qs. Monthly, firmly a 3-month balance. Inside month so far this month. Weekly, down. Not only is it down, they still have a gap on the weekly. They never fill the gap. It's under $1. It's 81 cents, but they have a weekly gap. So the weekly's down. And the daily, now this is what I was telling the room. Look at this 4-day balance. This looks like a fuse. This looks like 4 firecrackers, and this is the fuse, the 50. And it's going to light them off. The question is, when it explodes, is it exploding above the 50 or right back down out of balance to the downside? So monthly is balance, daily is balance, weekly is down. Now let's go to SPY and ES. Balance for the monthly, just like Qs. Inside month again, so far, like them. Weekly is down. So my friend asked me, my mentor actually asked me, who I respect tremendously, about an hour before the close, what do I think about going home long over the weekend? And I said I absolutely would not. I said because the monthly's balanced, the daily's balanced. I said, but the weekly's down. I said, so the odds right now are still in favor of the sellers. That doesn't mean we can't gap open $5 higher on Monday. But I think the odds are still in favor of the sellers. And I said, I'd rather be a buyer above balance high or a seller below balance low right now. So I don't think he went home with anything. So the monthly's balanced. The weekly, to me, is clearly down. And the daily, 4-day balance. What's the difference between us and triple Qs? Triple Qs are below the 50-day moving average. Look at us. We've gone back and forth through it 4 times. Talk about another fuse. This fuse has been burning for 4 days. So at some point it's going to explode. Is it going to be to the upside or to the downside? All remains to be seen. Anyway, I hope you had a great day trading and a great week. Thanks for the likes and subscribing. Come join us over the weekend at camelbacktrading.org. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.